everyone, welcome back to my channel Tutelage, a guide to learner. Here, this is Sriparna. I hope all of you are doing well. So, learner, we are going to discuss another new session of the fifth or sixth chapter, most probably, that is mathematical reasoning and aptitude. And this chapter on reasoning includes such topics such as coding, decoding, blood relations problem, direction related problem, series related problem, and mathematically reasoning. Today we are going to discuss only the mathematical reasoning portion, and you all know that this topic is also an important part of paper 1 of NTA UGC Net exam. So we have already shared our first session of on this chapter, that is mathematical reasoning. So if you have missed my previous session, so please go and check it once. I think this session will be a very helpful session to everyone, and my previous sessions link are available in my first comment and my description box, so please go and check it once if you need. Okay, so now move on to the main slide, and here we can see mathematical reasoning includes age related problems. You all know calendar related problems, ratio, percentage, proportion, average, speed, distance and time, fractions and profit and loss, interest and discounting. But here we will discuss the basic formula of these two portion, that is fraction. Just a minute, learner, just change the color. Okay, so only the fraction and the interest portion. Okay, so now going to the main discussion. Here we can see some important notes on fraction related problems. Okay, so at first we have to know what do you mean by a fraction, but you all know what is fraction. So fraction is basically a rational number which is expressed in the form of p by q, that means p by q. Clear? So fraction is a rational number which is expressed in the form of p by q, and q, obviously keep it in mind, q not equals to 0. Okay, so we all know p is the numerator and q is the denominator. For example, 1, the rational number, that is 1, can be divided into two parts, 1 by 2 or 1 by 3. So here 1 is the numerator and 1 by 2. So 1 is numerator, that is denoted by capital N, and 2 is denominator, which is called as capital D. I think this is clear what is fraction and what is the example of fraction. So fraction is basically a rational number which is expressed in the form of p by q, where q is not equals to 0. Okay, so now going to the next slide, and where we can see some types of fraction. So we can see here 7 to 8 type of fraction. So the first type, that is proper function, second one that is improper, third one compound, fourth one inverse, fifth one mixed fraction, sixth one continuous fraction, seventh one decimal fraction. So the last one, that is recurring fraction. Okay, so going to the next slide for the discussion. Okay, the different types of fraction. So here we can see the first and second type of fraction, that is proper and improper fraction. Okay, so at first we have to know what do you mean by a proper fraction. So proper fraction is basically is a kind of a fraction when the numerator is less than the denominator. The value of numerator is less than the value of denominator. So here we can see the example of the proper fraction, that is 112 by 205, and you all know 112 is numerator and 205 is denominator. And here we can see numerator, that is the value of numerator, that is 112, is less than the denominator value, that is 205. Okay, so that's why this fraction is called as the proper fraction. Okay, now going to the next type, that is improper fraction. Just reverse the proper fraction because numerator is greater than the denominator. Okay, so improper fraction is kind of a fraction when numerator, the value of numerator, is greater than the denominator value. So now look at the example. So 205, that is the numerical value, and 15, that is denominator, and you all know 205 is greater than the 15. Okay, so numerator is greater than denominator, and that's why this type of fraction is called improper fraction. Now going to the another type of fraction, that is compound fraction and mixed fraction. So at first we have to know what do you mean by a compound fraction. So compound fraction is a type of a fraction in either numerator or denominator or in both. So there is a fraction in either numerator or denominator or in both. So that means 15, that is numerator, 4 by 5. So the denominator is 4 by 5. So the first one, so the whole number is used to as the numerator in compound fraction, but the fraction number is used in the denominator portion. Okay, so that's why that type of fraction is called the compound fraction. Now move on to the next one, that is the mixed fraction. So what do you mean by a mixed fraction, learner? So mixed fraction basically has both the integers as well as the fraction. So 9 is a whole number, 6 by 11, that is the example of the mixed fraction, and 9 is a whole number and 6 by 11 is the another fraction. So this is the so here we can see 6 by 11, so that means 6, the value of numerator is less than the value of denominator. So 6 by 11 is itself a proper fraction. Okay, so mixed fraction is basically the integers, is a mixture of integers like 9 or any whole number. So mixed fraction is basically the mixture of integers as well as fraction. So here we can say 9 is the integers and 6 by 11 is itself a proper fraction. So that's why this type of fraction is called a mixed fraction. Okay, so now move on to the next slide. And here we can see another type of fraction, that is inverse fraction and decimal fraction. Okay, so at first we have to know decimal fraction. So in such fractions, the denominator has 10, 100, 1000, 10,000, 100,000, etc. So that type of fraction is called the decimal fraction. And here we can see the example of the decimal fraction, that is 1 by 10, 1 by 100, 1 by 1000, etc. Now move on to the first one, that is the inverse fraction. So inverse fraction is the fraction which is obtained by interchanging the numerator value and the denominator value of a given fraction. So just we have to interchange the value of denominator and the value of numerator. For example, we can say 61 by 22, this is the given fraction. And what is the inverse fraction of this given fraction? So just we have to interchange the numerator value and the denominator value. Okay, so here we can see 61 is numerator and 22 is denominator. But the inverse fraction, so what is the inverse fraction of given fraction, that is 61 by 622? So 61 is numerator. So the inverse fraction numerator is going to be a place of denominator. So that is 61, and 22 is the value of denominator, and it is going to be going to in the going to the place of denominator portion. So that is 22. Just interchange the numerator and the denominator value of a given fraction. So 61 by 22, this is the given fraction, and inverse fraction of this fraction, that is 22 by 61. I think this is clear. What do you mean by a inverse fraction and what is called the decimal fraction? Now move on to the next type of fraction. So here we can see another, most probably last two type of fraction, that is continuous fraction and the recurring fraction. Okay, so continuous fraction, it has a fraction. Continuous fraction has fraction in denominator only, not the numerator part. Okay, so this is called the continuous fraction. And now move on to the last type, that is recurring fraction. Sorry. So what is recurring fraction? So recurring fraction is a kind of a fraction which is a number which is having a number occurring continuous in their equivalent. So 1 by 3. So what is the value of what this is a recurring fraction, because 1 by 3 is equals to, sorry, just a minute, learner. So 1 by 3 is equals to 0.333. So 3, so the number 3 is repeated again and again. So that's why 1 by 3 is the recurring fraction, and it is one of the most important example of this fraction also. I think this is clear. We have already discussed the different types of fraction: proper fraction, improper fraction, compound, inverse, mixed, continuous, decimal, and recurring. And I think all types of fraction is clear to everyone. So now move on to the next portion, that is golden tips for fraction related problems. And the first golden tips, that is, we have already told p is q is not equals to 0. So when p by q, so fraction is basically expressed in the form of the p by q. So where p equals to q, that means the value of p and the value of q both are same. So the fraction p by q is equals to 1. Okay. So for example, we can say the value of p, that is 2. Okay. And value of q is also 2, because p equals to q. Okay. So p by q, that means 1. Okay, so I think this is clear. Now move on to the second one, that is, if p is 0, so what is the fraction value of fraction p by q? So p is 0, p is basically a numerator, and q is anything, that is 2. So 0 by 2 is always 0. So when p equals to 0, then p by q is 0 also. Now move on to the third one, that is, if q equals to 0. So p is 2 and the q is 0. So 2 by 0. So that's why this type of fraction is equals to infinite. Okay. So when p equals to 0, then p by q is equals to 0. When q equals to 0, then p by q is equals to infinity. Now going to the fourth one, that is if P and Q is equals to 0. We have already told Q is not equals to 0 in the fraction, but the fourth condition, P equals to Q equals to 0. So the fraction is 0 by 0, that is not defined. I think this is clear. Now going to the last one, last golden tips for fraction related problems. If P or Q are multiplied or divided by the same number, so P multiplied by 5 and Q is also multiplied by 5. So the uh, another fraction. So after multiplication, the new fraction will be the same, the previous fraction, that is P by Q. So here, for example, we can say P equal P or by Q, that means 2 by 3. So 2 by 3, which both numerator and denominator are multiplied by 5. So 2 into 5, that means 10, and 3 into 5, which is 3 into 5, that is 15. Okay. So 10 by 15. So 10 by 15, that means 2 by 3 also. So keep it in mind, whenever P and Q are multiplied or divided by the same number, most probably the main important thing, that is the same number. Okay. When P and Q are multiplied or divided by the same number, then P, the new fraction basically, will be the previous fraction. So I think this is clear. P and Q are multiplied or divided by the same number, then the new fraction will be the previous fraction, obviously. Okay. So now going to the next slide. So here we can see another some golden tips for fraction related problem. And when you are doing the fraction related problems, so those golden tips are always keep it in mind. Okay. So the next golden tips for fraction related problems, that is you have to add two fraction with the same denominator. Take out the common fraction only. For example, 12 by 7 and 5 by 7. And here, here we can see uh, there are two fraction, that is 12 by 7 and 5 by 7. But both fraction have the same denominator, that is 7. So that's why take out only the common fraction. Okay. So for adding these two fraction, 12 by 7 plus 5 by 7, that is just add the numerator portion. Okay. So 12 plus 5, not not adding the denominator portion, because denominator is same in the both fraction. Okay. So 12 by 5, 12 plus 5, that is equals to 17, and denominator is 7. So 17 by 7 is the new fraction. Okay. So after adding 12 by 7 and 5 by 7 fraction, you will get the new fraction, that is 17 by 7. Similarly, subtraction can also be calculated in the same process. Okay. So now move on to the third one. If the denominators of fraction are same, then the fraction with the highest numerator will be the greatest. Okay. So what is the basic meaning of these type of golden tips for fraction related problems? So if the denominator of the fraction are same, okay, so then fraction with the highest numerator will be greatest. That means 12 by 7 and on 1 minute, 12 by 7 and 5 by 7. Okay. So here we can see the denominators of two fractions are same, that is 7. So then the fraction with the highest numerator. So in between two fraction 12 by 7 and 5 by 7, what is the highest numerator? That is 12. So obviously the fraction with highest numerator, that is 12 by 7, will be the greatest. Okay, so that's why 12 by 7 is greater than the 5 by 7. Okay, because denominator are same, so only the highest numerator will be the highest fraction. Okay, so fraction with the highest numerator always will be a greatest fraction than any other fraction. So here we can say 12 by 7 is greater than the 5 by 7. I think all things are clear to everyone. If you have any doubt on it, so please do comment in my comment section. I will reply you positively. Now going to the next type, that is some basic formula for interest related problems. So here we can see the formula of the simple interest. So what is the formula of simple interest? And simple interest is denoted by SI. Okay, so SI equals to P into R into T divided by 100. So what is the meaning of P? So P is principal amount, R is interest rate, and T is time. So that is the basic formula for simple interest. Okay, so now move on to the next slide, and where we can see the another important formula, that is the formula of compound interest, and which is also denoted by CI. So CI is equals to P into 1 plus R by 100, and T is basically a in square. Okay, so P into 1 plus R by 100, which is equal to the power T minus 1. And here P is also the principal amount, R is interest rate, and T is time. So we have already told the basic formula of simple interest and compound interest rate. So in my next session, we will discuss some problems using this type of formula. Okay, so now going to the next tips. So here we can see another important formula, that is 1 minute total payable amount. So what is the formula of total payable amount? That is P into 1 plus R by 100. I think this formula will be very much clear when we are using it in the example, okay, in the problems. So that's why please keep it in mind, the basic formula of interest related problems or fraction related problems. In next session we will discuss, and we will solve the interest related problems also. Okay, so now move on to the next slide. So here we can see some golden tips. Basically not the golden tips, that is the basic formula for the interest related problems. And the first one, that is if interest rate is half yearly, so you have the half yearly interest rate. So then R as R by 2. So the formula, just change the formula. So what is the formula of simple interest rate? Sorry, compound interest rate, P into 1 plus R by 100. So here when you have the half yearly interest, so that's why R as R by 2 and T as 2T. Okay, if interest rate is monthly, then take R is equals to R by 12. Okay, and T as 12T, and if interest rate is quarterly, then R as R by 4 because quarterly, because total months is divided by 4 and time period is 4t. So when you have different interest rate, different type of interest rate, that is half yearly interest rate, monthly interest rate and quarterly interest rate, just change the formula of compound interest rate. I think this will be more clear when we are using it in the problems. I think all things are clear to everyone. So learner, we are done for the today's session. If you like my session, do one like, comment and share with your near ones. Please do some support and subscribe to my channel, and please press the bell button for getting notification as soon as possible from my side. And your comments is are one of the most important key to motivate me also, so that's why please do comment. Okay, so please stay with me. Thank you. Keep commenting. Happy learning.